Reebok Fitness nýlausn þegar það kemur að heilbrigðum lífstíl. 2.990 á mánuði og engin binding. Skráðu þig strax á reebokfitness.is.
Gjörðu svo vel Eyjólfur.
Takk. Verið velkomin. Þið eru með listan á öllu leikum, þannig ég ekki að lesa það alla upp, en þið sjá að það eru þarna nýliðar. Við erum með hann Hörð frá Juventus sem kemur inn í þetta, og Egil Jónsson KR og Þorsteinn Már Ragnarsson KR. Það eru svona 10 nýliðar sem kom inn í þetta hjá okkur. Annars erum við að fara að spila á móti Azerbaijan sem við ætlum okkur að vinna. Við erum að fara að spila á gervigrasi, þannig að það eitthvað sem kemur okkar mönnum ekkert óvart, þannig að það á ekkert að vera nein vandræði fyrir okkur og við bara hlökkum til. Persónulega aldrei komið til Azerbaijan og það bara gaman að kynnast í. Við vitum það að Azerbaijan hafa verið að spila vel, þeir gerðu 2-2 við Belga á heimavelli og það verið mjög öflugur á heimavelli, þannig að það ýmislegt að varast, en við ætlum okkur sigur í þessu leik. Einnig erum við að huga að annarri uppstillingu og í anda Lars að spila með 2 sentera og sækja svolítið grimmt á þá, og það mjög áhugavert og spennandi og skemmtilegt verkefni. Þannig að það eru skemmtileg tíma framöndan. Takk, ég held að það sé gott.
Já, þá þakka ég Eyjólfur fyrir og Lars. Now finally they can listen to you and hear who you are selecting for the national team.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I would also like to say welcome. I don't know if the player means it, but we put the players' photos up there. I hope they say welcome to you too. I just want to say first that since I started now, everything has been very positive in many ways for me. I mean, first of all, we haven't lost any games. That's the most important thing. And but also that we really had a good start with the camp, with the contact with the association, and especially we come back to that later with the friendlies that's coming up. I mean, I couldn't ask for more. So the support has been marvelous. So. Unfortunately, if we start losing games, I can't blame anything today anyway, so we have to wait and see. But I wanted to start to give you a little background, what things that Heimir and I and the rest of the staff has worked with, and also we have had a lot of help from Jolly and Sigge to gone through all the players and had a little bit discussions between how we should work with the under-21 players who can play in both teams. So we try to do the best, both for the national teams and for the players. Just to repeat, you probably know it, it's not that many new faces in the staff, but I would like to that you see them anyway because of me, because I think that the staff is really important. This is a teamwork. The staff is really important, all they're saying, what signals they send to the players, and so we can really work together in all ways. And as you can see, we have 2 new members, and that's Roland Andersson, who will help us with scouting the opponents. And why I asked to have him in the staff is that when it's really short of time, for instance, when you play double headers, I think it's important that you knew the guy who is scouting very well, because it's not much time if you go from the first game to the second game in a double header. And we also have a new goalkeeper coach, Gudmundur. Otherwise, it's familiar face. And as I said, Sigge and Jolly is in the staff, so to speak, but they're helping us a lot. And I hope that we can cooperate really well in the future. I also had the privilege to take part in the A course for Icelandic coaches last week, who was in England. And it was very good for me to listen and learn from feelings and what they think about Icelandic football. So it's really nice to have that cooperation with Sigge too. No changes, as you can see, in the medical team, and we haven't tested them yet, so we have to wait and see if they are good enough or not. And when you pick a team, of course, it's a lot of different individual skills. I mean, you need speed, you need physics, you need understanding the game and so on. And as you can see from some examples on these pictures, players can be very, very different. But all experience I have from different players is the really best players, they always want to win, whatever they do. And you can probably learn that, but I think most very much are coming from birth, so to speak, also. But I think that's really important. Another thing that is important for me is discipline. And not only on the pitch, as this picture shows with the Swedish national team, that don't get any unnecessary bookings or red cards or whatever. But it's discipline both on and off the pitch. And we will go through all this with the players, of course. But that's also a very, very basic thing for me to work with the players. So finally, a little bit about more philosophy. I think it's important to be realistic. To value the skills you have in the team. That's when I'm talking about playing good football. Good football is to use the player in the best way and see what skills you have. You can't do anything if you don't have the possibility to get it through with the players all the time. But at the same time, I think you have to be optimistic also. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you will not win anything either. And not to be too serious, we had a lot of talk now during the camp, both with the staff and also with the players in a little bit about these things. I mean, I like when people are 100% and very serious, but at the same time you must have fun, a positive atmosphere. So a smile on your lips, I think, is also very important when you're working with a big group of people like this. So this way of putting it, as you can see there, a smile costs nothing and so on. I think that's a good guideline to have in a squad. Respect is also important for me. It doesn't matter if it's inside the team or it's outside. I mean, when we meet you, we have to respect you, or not have to, we shall respect you, because you have your job, we have our job. But even more important is inside the squad, because when a big group of people come together, not everybody, in my opinion or my experience, are perhaps liking each other 100%, because different personalities or whatever. But the really important thing for me is to respect each other. Then you can be a good team anyway. I had some players in the Swedish team that you can calmly can say that they didn't like each other. So I spent some hours with them talking individually and two and two together, that you don't have to go out and have a cup of coffee together, but you have to respect each other if you should be in the team. Can you go back? Thank you, sir. I also think it's important for every player. I mean, you have some really good players in these two squads that we soon will present, but I don't know everybody, or not so many of them, to speak frankly, about their personalities. But I think what says there also is important, that one player can't never win a football game. It's always the team that winning. One player can be very decisive. If I take your Gudjonsson, who is injured now, or you could go back to Zlatan in Sweden, that they can be very important and decisive, but they never win matches on their own. And I think that is an important thing for all players to realize also. Always a lot of talks about goals and aims and what you will achieve. I suppose you would like to ask questions about what chances do we have to qualify when it comes to the World Cup qualification. And it's always very difficult to answer these questions. And I always try for the last years to have a talk with the players and the staff, that we have an attitude of giving 100%. That's the best aim I think we can have. Because if everybody gives 100% in every situation, in football you always have a chance to win, even if you play the best. Because it's interesting if you look upon football. If we have time sometime in the future, I would be glad to go through a little bit more details what I think with football. But if you compare other team sports, where they have goals, they have to score goals. It's never happened in handball, basket, any team sport you say, that the third division team beat the first division team. But it happens in football, and that's so nice about football. That's why Iceland can beat a very, very good team in the ranking, even if they're much higher than us. If we're doing well, we can always beat them. So I think that is very important. We listed players when we've gone through this with the guys that I mentioned for you. So we had 54 players we found with experience from the national team. And I always before try to work with around 35, 40 players to keep updated all the time. Not I mean that we can go around and see them, but keep us updated through TV video and see how much they are playing and so on. So I would say that we will try to follow around 35, 40 players for the national team. So not everybody on this map will of course be there, but we have a big group of players that is interesting anyway, and that's good for Icelandic football. I will not go into so much about our tactics, but basically I would prefer to play 4-4-2. We can't say it for sure because it depending on the qualities in the squad, the skills of the players and so on. A general point of view you can say about the Icelandic players, we don't have so many strikers in the team. So maybe it will be more playing like a shadow striker and a striker. I don't know for the moment. We have to wait and see for that. But Heimir and I have talked a lot about it, and we will see what happens. But we will try to start in a kind of 4-4-2 basic way of playing, but it can change a little bit. So don't take it for sure that we will do that. For me, football, and I think in life also, it's very much about balance. And I think this picture is rather nice, that it's in football it's about balanced defensive good play with attacking good play, and that's maybe the most interesting part of being a coach, to try to find a team, use the individual skills, and also looking upon how good are the opponents and decide what is the best way for us to play to win games. I also think it's very important in football, as I said, it's so difficult to score goals. That's why the third division team can beat the first division. You have to have patience in football. It's a key word for me that the players don't get over-ambitious, want to do too much, because then you can lose your patience, you don't play well, and you don't play smart. And you have to play smart, I think, to be a winner in football. When it comes to training, it's nothing special about that. I think when you have a national team, you have limited time, so most of the training, I prefer to have a tactical form of training, so we try to train as we play. That's, I think, is very important with all teams, club teams also, but maybe even more important when you come to the national team and you don't have so much time. Otherwise, I think that, I don't know what you think, but you can put them any question you like to me, but I think people also in general underestimate a little bit the training part of it. And I know at least your colleagues in Sweden, they wasn't always that fond of sitting on the stand, that they did every training session that we have if it was an open one, but they never, in my opinion, seems to enjoy it or realize really how important it is. But for me, the training session next after the games, it's the most important. So when we train, I would like to have really peace and calm close to the training pitch. So I hope we can have respect for each other, that you don't get too close into the training pitch when you're watching, so it's a disturbance for the players, because I want them to be 100% focused when they train. Now I've talked a lot, so now we'll let Heimir to present the two squads against Japan and Montenegro. The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Bara því að hann á erfiðleikum með að bera fram nöfnin, þá ætla ég bara að renna yfir þetta. Eru þið með blöðin? Nei, þau eru ekki komin. Þannig að við tökum leikina móti Japan fyrst. Hannes Þór og Gunnleifur eru markmenn. Hjálmar Jónsson segi ég. Hallgrímur Jónasson. Skúli Jón. Elvar Freyr Helgason. Leikinni koma þarna fyrir neðan, Guðmundur Kristjánsson, Arnór Sveinn Aðarsteinsson, Theodór Elmar, Ari Freyr Skúlason, Þórarinn Ingi Valdimarsson, Helgi Valur Danielsson, Haukur Páll Sigurðsson, Steindór Freyr Þorsteinsson, Matthías Viljámsson, Gunnar Heiðar Þorvaldsson, Garðar Jóhansson og Arnór Smárason. Þetta sá hópur sem við höfum valið að fara til Japan. Áður en við kannski tökum einhverjar spurningar þennan hóp, þá förum við beint í hópinn sem mætir Svartfjallalandi, og það engin leikmaður sem spilar í báðum leikjunum, þannig að það alveg nýr hópur, markmenn Stefán Logi og Haraldur Björnsson. Hjörtur Logi, Bjarni Ólafur Eiríksson, Indriði Sigursson, Ragnar Sigursson, Sölvi Geir, Birkir Már Sævarsson, Gretar Rafn Steinsson, Jóhann Berg, Emil Hallfreðsson, Eggert Gunndór Jónsson, Aron Einar Gunnarsson, Kári Árnason, Rúri Gíslason, Birkir Bjarnason, Alfreð Finnbogason og Gylfi Þór Sigurðsson. Þannig að þetta eru hóparnir tveir sem fara í þessa leiki. If you would like to ask Lars any questions regarding the groups, the floor is yours again.
Yeah, it's okay with question. I can say I don't know if Heimi said that, but as you know, it's not an international date against Japan, so we had mainly to concentrate on players playing in the Nordic leagues and hope that the clubs would be positive to let them go. And most of the clubs have been very positive. It's a couple of players that wasn't able to be picked to Japan because their club said no. You also know that we have some injured players, and we also, the difficulties, as I mentioned, is that choosing between players not playing at all. We have some of the younger players, especially maybe down in Belgium. I talked to some coaches down there also about them, and it's always difficult to choose between players that are playing on a rather high level and players that are playing a lot on a lower level. But we mainly pick the players now that we really wanted to see for the Montenegro game outside from the Nordic countries, and also so I could meet and see all the players, as many players as possible.
How do you rate the goalkeepers, the 4 goalkeepers you selected? Is there any one that you regard as number 1 right now?
Yeah, I mean, if you look upon history, I could maybe say that. What I have seen from the players before, I mean, now Gunnleifur unfortunately became sick at the camp, so I couldn't see him live. And Logi was injured, so I haven't seen him live either this year, so to speak. So I wouldn't like to rate players at this moment. I would like everybody to feel that they have a fair chance to qualify. And I mean, for me, it doesn't matter with age or anything. The best players should be there. And I could, of course, see a little bit what I've seen before or what I've seen in video, but I think that's unfair to the players if you is satisfied with that answer. What you can say about the keeper is that I mean, being a keeper is in my opinion very much a mental thing, and I think that it's important that they have experience or are very, very mental strong. I mean, my experience from Sweden is that you normally, as a player in general, need maybe 10, 15 internationals before you're really into it, especially if you're playing in the Nordic leagues, because they don't get the same international experience, and if you compare with bigger clubs out in Europe. And for keepers, I think it's even more important to have experience. But I don't say that and say that I give priority to Gunnleifur in that case, even if he is both old and has the most matches. So we will see what happens, and we will follow them very closely now in their clubs also.
Lars, if somebody withdraws from the team who plays in Montenegro, will you pick someone who is playing in Japan?
It's a good question. I would say I would prefer not to do that. I'd rather try to find some other players that we haven't picked, because I think the players we have in the Japan squad, we can't, because as I said, I think it's important that we had a good chance to go out and do a good game and hopefully have a good result. So I wouldn't weaken that too much, but it depends which player in that case you will go out from the Montenegro squad. But if I should have a guess today, I wouldn't pick one from the Japan team.
There's also a lot of guys that we wanted to take to a few guys we wanted to take to Japan.
Exactly.
Who couldn't go to the Japan game, but the squad for Montenegro was full, so they had to sit back home because their team didn't allow them to go to Japan.
Which players are?
It's guys like
Vega, Palmi.
Pálmir og svo eru strákar sem eru í 21 liðinu sem hefðu kannski frekar við höfum tekið frekar heldur en aðra til Japans en við viljum ekki taka það frá liðinu sínu í svona langan tíma.
But in general, it's not that important either, because the big thing for me is that we have the chance to have 36 players coming in, and even if maybe would have preferred to have one in one of the other squads, it's not that important. The important thing now for me is to, and I hope for the players, is to know each other, Heimir and me, and see how we would like to work, and talk about the guidelines that we want to have when we are in the national team and the way we are playing. So it's a as I said before, it's a fantastic chance to have first the camp and now 36 players. Hopefully they are all without injuries and coming in. I mean, you very seldom have that kind of start with a national team. So but it doesn't matter that much, even if you. But now we have still at least 3 friendlies to work with the team before the competitive games start.
Have you had opportunity to see many players, visit them or something like that?
Not so much. It's been a lot of planning. I've seen, I think, 3 matches in England live. That's the only thing I have seen the players playing live, except from the camp that we had in January. So for the rest of the time, it's been a little bit on TV and some videos. I mainly also concentrated to see some of the national team matches from last year.
What do you think that the team has been lacking in their performances over the past couple of years, based on what you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, what happened, at least the some games that I saw from last season with the national team I mean, it was some. To put it frankly, I think it was some easy goals that they let in. If I be very frank, I would call them silly mistakes. If you take Portugal game, for instance, you can't do mistakes like that if you want to beat good teams. I think they played rather well. I mean, against Norway, against Denmark, I think in some of these 4 matches they were really unlucky. Iceland was unlucky that they didn't have a better result. So I think they, in many matches, and played rather well. But it was a little bit this last one, and just to put the ball in the net and not doing. You can't afford to do mistakes. That's, for me, it's about the winning attitude, the winning culture. I mean, on this level, you have to be focused on 90 minutes. If you are interested, I could show you a little bit from matches that I have been coaching that you're playing so much better, you create so much more goal-scoring chances, but you still can lose in football. And we have to work on that attitude. Every team needs to work on that attitude. I mean, you have some, if you go to club teams, I mean, the top clubs can always buy the best players, but if you look upon a team like Manchester United, always come back, even if they are under in a match, and stay on that level for so many years. They have, I'm sure about it, some kind of winning culture, winning attitude that you need to build into a team all the time. Probably is Alex Ferguson good in that respect, I suppose.
Maybe an issue with confidence as well?
Yeah, it's difficult for me to say. I mean, I think when I've seen some players, now I don't know them so well, so I'm on thin ice now, so don't quote me on that because I can be wrong. But I think you are right in your question, because I think some of the players I've seen, both when I watch national team matches and seen them in club, have bigger potential than they are showing. They could do much more, because I think some players are so skillful, but they are maybe very loyal to the team or not having that personality. I mean, the real best guy, as I said before, I work with like Zlatan or Fredrik Ljungberg. They are super egos and they have a lot of attitude all the time. I think if you want to be up top, you really need that kind of personality, or realize that I have to be best in every situation to be a top-class international player.
about the other elements around the team, like the way the whole setup is structured around the team with the staff you have and the board of the federation and those kind of things. Have you implemented any changes or asked for anything special in that regard?
Yeah, of course I've asked for things when we negotiated this job, but it's been 100% positive, the answers I got from the association with Turer and Geir. There has been no problems at all. We have the staff. I mean, I don't know the guys so well in the staff that I have to trust when I talk to Gunnar and Heimir and the guys around the team, as I didn't know them personally. We had a meeting with them back in January with the whole staff, and I had a good feeling about it, so I think it's good. Then when it comes to logistics and everything around it, we have some discussions done when we met the staff, and we have discussed it, Heimir and I, so we probably try to do some changes, but I will also, I believe in having an open dialogue with the players. So some of the pictures you've seen here, we will go through with the players, and we also will go through everything around the team, how we should live, how we should work. And before I've done that, then I can tell you exactly what guidelines or rules we will have in the team. I believe that they should feel that they can participate and always express their opinions, even if I and Heimir take the last decisions. But I would like to have as few rules as possible, because if they're going to play on the highest level, they need to take responsibility and behave like professionals. That's clear for me. And if they don't want to do that, I don't think they should play in the team, because then they can play on a lower level than the highest professional level. So I hope that we can come to a lot of agreements with the players, so we don't need to have rules. Because backside of having rules is if someone breaks rules, you have to punish people in some way. So I was lucky enough with the Swedish and also the Nigerian team, even if it was very short time, to come through a lot of agreements with the players and have very few rules.
Er það á súkkulaðiterta?